I like shoot 'em ups. I'm terrible at them. My eyes don't know what they're supposed to be looking at, and my fingers turn into a sailor's knot whenever I attempt to get anywhere. But that's my fault, that's not the game's fault. With a bit of time and effort, I can sometimes get to the second level of a shoot 'em up.
No way.
While I'm terrible at them, I do also know the difference between a good one and a bad one. I know that R-Type Leo is the best R-Type because I'm a hipster and it's the one no one remembers. I've really enjoyed modern indie shoot 'em ups like Jamestown, which I've owned for about 3 years and I've played for a whopping 70 minutes because I get frustrated. I own a copy of the Red Star on PS2 because it's a classic that everyone ignored when it was released. I also own R-Type Final, but it's not as good as R-Type Leo, which I thought was cool before everyone else did. My tastes in shoot 'em ups are of the highest caliber. You say Ikaruga, I say Armed Police Batrider. You say Gradius, I say Sexy Parodius. My tastes are impeccable. So why do I own P.O.D? I picked it up at a retro games fair because it was something I used to own as a kid. I saw the front cover and I recognised it instantly, but on looking at the screenshot on the back of the box, I had absolutely no memory of it. It was £2, which is exactly the price it was when it was first released, so I thought, screw it, let's ride this nostalgia train all the way home. P.O.D has no pretentious storyline and no planets to be saved. It is quite simply the most exciting and addictive shoot 'em up ever. Each level is superbly balanced for playability and challenging action. It may be too much for you. It is too much for me. It's too much for anyone. I've never seen a more off-putting game in my life. It's like someone took a Jeff Minter game and... well, no, it's basically like someone took a Jeff Minter game. It's clearly just trying to be a Jeff Minter game. However, while Jeff knows what he's actually doing with this stuff, the developer, Mike Davies, oh my god, it's the same guy who did Dragon's Lair, Mike Davies, had no idea how Jeff's games work. It's like copying someone else's homework, but the kid you're copying the homework from doesn't speak the same language as you, so you're just noting down the general gist in the vague hope you get it right. They didn't get it right. P.O.D is an absolute mess. Visually, it's practically impossible to work out what's going on. There's a fluorescent wave of visual vomit flapping around in the background at all times. The enemies are tiny, the bullets are tinier, everything takes place on a grid that's the same colour as everything else. It moves unnecessarily fast. It's a goddamn mess is what it is. It's also silent. Completely silent. I thought I'd broken something. I had to go and watch someone else's video about the game to check I wasn't doing something wrong. But no. This shoot 'em up, has no sound whatsoever. None. And I presume it takes place in space, so fair enough, at least they're scientifically accurate. Crash Magazine was on form with this one, slapping a 21% score on it, although they did say the sound was below average, which, yes, it would be, wouldn't it? There isn't any, you lunatics. Yours Sinclair gave the game a 4, citing the game as unoriginal and boring, while Sinclair User Magazine gave the game a 7. I'm not even going to insult you with any of the words from this review, I just want you to curl your lip in disgust at that number. Truth be told, I can't get very far in P.O.D. I don't think anyone can. It's equal parts impossible and stupidly designed. On some levels, there's so much crap being flung at you, you've practically no chance to see any of it coming. And on the other hand, I tested out how far I could get by not touching the keyboard, and I got to level 3. You see, P.O.D isn't quite a traditional shooter. It takes place on a grid, and when you kill an enemy it destroys part of that grid so that neither you nor the enemy can pass through it. This repairs itself after a brief amount of time, so it's pretty much a moot point. But the real twist here is that enemies continue to rain down on you until a timer runs out, at which point you get an extra life and move on to the next level. Enemies don't aim at you, they spaff their attacks at random, so it's very much possible to get through to the 3rd level without moving if you're lucky, or even if you're unlucky. If you hold down shoot without moving, you can even make it up to level 4, and level 4 is where most people will end up meeting their end anyway, because it's just too much. There's no strategy, the game manual specifically says. There is no strategy. They are proud of this fact. It's an absolute crapshoot in more ways than one. I have no idea how it's held the value of £2 for 30 years. This should have cost me 5p. I do want to get a second opinion on this though. I may have the best tastes in shoot 'em ups, but I have admitted that I'm bad at them. So it's time to get Bloggo's Pow involved. Bloggo runs a channel on which he talks about games you may not have heard of, but most importantly, he plays a lot of shoot 'em ups, and he's actually pretty good at them. So I asked him to play P.O.D. Let's see what he thought.
Right, so Rose Tinted Spectrum has asked me to play Pod because I like shoot 'em ups, and this is a shoot 'em up, and he's asked me to play it because it's one of his childhood games or something. And I've also just died. I have no idea if this is supposed to have sound or not. What is going on with my eyes with this? It's just like somebody shattered tartan kilt all over my screen. Even though it's called Pod, Proof of Destruction, the inlay makes it look like it says poo. I'm not sure if that's important or not, but wow, this is interesting. I'd imagine if I shoot something close to shit. This reminds me of sort of Grid Runner to a degree, maybe? I don't know. But shit. It's a shoot 'em up, that's for sure. But really, really weird and trippy shoot 'em up. See, it starts off quite normal, like a sort of centipede sort of thing going on here, which is nice enough. And even the attack patterns are sort of centipede-y sort of attack patterns. But it's just sort of from that last attempt, it goes a complete batshit mad, doesn't it? Well, there we go. There is Pod. Or Poo, if you like. A Master Sonic game that Rosie asked me to look at, and I think it's quite nice.
Quite nice is the summary there. Quite nice. And you know what? You may or may not be right there. But here's the thing. Pod is a badly made game full of stupid decisions, but it's also so simple to pick up and laugh at while you try and get past even 4 levels that it sort of ends up being a little bit forgivable. It's also a game that hardly anyone has heard of, so you know what? If I declare it as one of my favourite shoot 'em ups of all time, it would really let me climb the hipster ranks even further. It's a real conundrum, you know. Is this one of the greatest shoot 'em ups of all time? Yes. Yes, it is. And I started playing it before any of you losers, because you were all off playing Space Invaders like the sheeple you are. Ugh. I don't like that because everyone likes it. I like Pod because it's hip and cool. You squares.
3, 2, 1, let's go!